Who's having a great day so far? Yes? Awesome, awesome. Yeah, me too. It's just fantastic to be able to get together with friends and people that we haven't seen in a while, and just be inspired. Sometimes I just think that this is what we need. It's that shot in the arm. We've made it through Valentine's Day. We've survived, which is awesome. But we need that shot in the arm to just keep moving through the spring season, which is always a busy season in the shop, and it just helps feed our souls, I think, when we're able to be creative and be around other creative people. So I would just want to personally thank you for taking the time out of your schedules to make this a priority. I think that it's fantastic. I'd like to thank the association for providing opportunities like this for everybody. If you haven't yet, make sure to take the time to stop in. The vendors that are out here are the ones who are really responsible for helping provide all of these beautiful things that you get to see. So make sure that you take the time to stop into each booth and talk to them and make those purchases and just show them your support and your gratitude that they're here and we're able to do this for you. So our next presenter needs absolutely no introduction. We are super excited to welcome to the stage someone who is a veteran of the floral industry, absolutely amazing, sponsored by Floriology, powered by BloomNet, Mr. Jackie Lacey.
Okay, so all of you saw me kind of like rushing around up here trying to get everything together. Isn't that exactly what it's like when you're out on an event? So I was trying to add a bit of that reality in there, right? Okay, well that's me just trying to cover that we were trying to get things switched out and there was a lot of moving pieces, especially when we start to look at what the consumer is looking at today when it comes to arches, aisles, and style. And I cannot emphasize that last word enough, because suddenly during COVID, people discovered the beauty of flowers, right? When they couldn't get somewhere else, they were sending flowers. And then as soon as they could get somewhere else, they were like, oh, well, maybe we won't send flowers. So now we're trying to grab their attention back. We're trying to pull that back to the center. And what we're finding with the 5 generations that we're selling to, and it's very important to remember that there are 5 generations now, and we have to appeal to each and every one of them. And taking it a step further, we have to also make sure that we're marketing to them in the correct way. That means you have to realize which generation you're working with, which generation you're working for, that means who's writing the check, and which generation is going to be in attendance that might want to hire you for their job. Because each and every job that we do is an advertisement, a promotion for that next one that we want to do. And if we don't think of our work in that way, what we do now means what we'll do tomorrow, then we're not utilizing all of our efforts to maximize ourselves. People don't just come to you anymore. They're no longer that yellow pages, and many of you in the audience don't even know what I'm talking about. Yellow pages used to be that telephone guide that you had to go to and flip through and find who might be selling the flowers or offering services for a wedding, working with others, and we usually had only 1, maybe 2 generations at that time that we had to deal with. Generally at that time, it was the parents paying for the wedding. They most often wanted to have the wedding they never had. They were forcing the couple into doing this. All of that's changed. In today's market, we work for the people that are having the celebration, the people that are going to be standing at the aisle. And hopefully you're picking up on the fact that I'm saying the people, the wedding couple, those that are getting married, because it's changed. And if you're not embracing that change, you're limiting or discounting possibilities for other services you would be able to provide. Weddings and events have changed, but they are coming back with a veracity. We were out at Eastern Floral the other day shooting a podcast, and one of the things that they mentioned during the podcast is that when the world fell apart a couple of years ago, and we all went through it, we all know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to remove that word from my vocabulary because I'm kind of tired of hearing it at this point. Even more so, I'm tired of hearing it as an excuse. And in today's market, and I just had lunch with some friends a little while ago, and unfortunately, those of you that are familiar with Will and Grace, the Karen in me came out. And I had to make a server cry. I don't like sharing that information, but I did it as a lesson because I'm about at the point now where I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing and just start doing training because the entire world needs to be retrained, including us. I constantly hear time and time again, my clients like this. My clients want this. That means your clients want only what's in your mind. And you're limiting yourself because I do almost every day things that I don't want to do. Things that aren't my style, aren't my taste, but what I'm working for is what? The return. I don't work just because I have a passion for flowers, which I do, and hopefully that will come out. I work because I have a passion for fancy shoes and shirts. And someone needs to pay for those. That means I need someone to pay for the flowers. And I'm going to do things that I might not necessarily want to do. As we start to look at what I've created for stage, and I want to back up a little bit, not so much what I've created. I'm really honored that I got to do a 6-hour hands-on program yesterday with about 17 up-and-coming florists. Some had been in the industry for a while, just wanted to see what the trends were, wanted to know what was up and coming for the next season and what has changed. And some were just beginning in the industry, and we together created everything you're going to see up here today. So much of this is my ideas, my concepts, my recipes, and the hands of many others, because many hands make light work. And if I had tried to create all of this in just one afternoon, although yesterday was a 17-hour day, it would be impossible to have done all of it. So I want to start by saying thank you very much to all of those that participated in the class yesterday and helped to coordinate all of the products that you're going to see up here. Getting back to what we're seeing in the market and what has changed is that sort of those rules have gone out the window. When I first started in the industry, it can be 1.5 times the height of a container and generally no wider than the height of the container so that it looks like it's proportioned, blah, 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 blah. Today, I have from the floor to the ceiling and from left to right, and what the client wants, I'm going to try to provide. And I have found that if you can make things look larger than they actually are, by being a bit more economical, using your creative flair, your artistry, you will begin to build that clientele that knows they can come to you with their ideas, because many of them have no idea how to ask for it. They know right away if they don't like something, but they really struggle sometimes telling you what they're looking for because they don't know the names of the flowers. How many times do we hear someone ask for those, that sticks? I want some of those sticks in the design. Makes it look so much larger. I don't want any of those ball-looking things, those fuzzy green things. It's amazing sometimes the names that they come up with, but we generally get an idea of what they're trying to direct us. So we have to look at the trends, keep up with what's changing and what we're seeing in today's market more than anything else. And what I continue to encourage is that it's a time we need to use what we have. Get rid of what you have so that you can then look at what you can bring in. But if I don't sell what I have, like all the florists that I have known in 40 years, we just push it in the back room, stack it on top of each other, load up all the shelves, then we create fabric to cover that and start stacking in front of it. We'll rent a space next door and move it over there. We'll take it home and store it in our garage. And then we'll go to market and go, but that is so beautiful. I just have to have it. And have to have it because you like it. And remember, you aren't buying your services or your products. Someone else is. And we need to appeal to more than one generation or one group of people. So when you look at what you're going to purchase, I challenge you to make sure you can find 3 ways to use it. And if you cannot, in a few moments, name 3 ways that you can use that product, put it back down, and walk away. Just like sometimes you need to put down the knife and step away from the design. The more you purchase, the more you have to work to get rid of it. When it comes to the trends and we start to look at what's on the horizon and coming up, we're looking at a lot of what we've seen for the last couple of years. The taupes, the beiges, the blush is changing a little bit. It's going from that sandy color blush more to a pink, and we're seeing coral and orange, and that beautiful color, Viva Magenta, blah, 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 burgundy. Magenta, to me, has a lot of purple in it, but the Viva Magenta of Pantone has a lot of red. It's really more of a burgundy color, and everyone's interpretation is different. If I ask you what burgundy is, you're going to give me one tone. If I ask you what burgundy is, it's going to be another, and that's what we're seeing with the interpretation of Viva Magenta. It's what I think magenta is, and it's just like blush. Blush can be off-white, pink, taupe, beige, sand, all of those leaning to the same tones, but we all interpret them differently, and we're seeing them all used together. So a little pop of color, very natural. How many times have we seen brides in the past with that hairstyle that's just like, yeah, I got up and just washed this morning. And they've paid hundreds of dollars to get that look. Dried and preserved, still really strong, and we're seeing it added in many ways, but still with the pampas grass. Who knew that pampas grass just started growing 2 years ago? I've lived in South Carolina for over 20 years, and it was there then, but no one wanted it. Everyone was like, oh, that's a weed, that's snake grass, don't bother it. Now you can't keep it in the shops. And they want it in a little square roundy-moundy for a centerpiece, a piece of pampas grass. So I can lay that horizontally and still fulfill the order and get the pampas grass in there and make something this large rather than this size, and I've just gained a client by fulfilling what they wanted in a way that I could by using creative flair. Adding in drieds, sticks, curly willow, roadside effloria, my favorite word, because no one knows what that is and they can't find it anywhere, so they can't check what the price is. It's what I think that should be. I have been stopped by the police on the side of the road helping nature. It needed to be trimmed. I saw it leaning and thought that might cause someone to have an accident. They bought that once. They did not buy it the second time they found me. Sandy Schreck had me up to do a program, and every day, Mark Bass and she was taking us back and forth, and I was coveting those big, what looked like a sunflower bush that grows up here. We grow big sunflowers like this in the South. Up here, you grow smaller ones on a big bush, and I just had to have it. Please stop. And I ran up to the top of the embankment and chopped off a big bush, not knowing that, perception, that bush was a lot bigger when I got up there. And I said, Mark, duck, and I shoved it right in the car, and we went off to work to add that into the designs. What you can find from nature is a great way to bring that in, but remember, anything that you're bringing in dried or preserved, you want to make sure that it's been treated, that you're not also bringing in pests from outside that can come out onto the tabletop during dinner, not really appetizing. But full-blown bouquets of dried and preserved, you'll see continue. I'm not sure how much longer because it is starting to wane a little bit, but it is going to be around for a little bit, and it's a great way to be inflected into everything that we do. Excuse me. Bigger isn't necessarily better. Just because we want to do it bigger and something looks bigger doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're looking for. By adding in clusters and still taking the trends and working them into even personal flowers, it's a way to keep that style present and cohesive in everything that you're doing. When I say think green, it's not just the color green. I know Andrew Stinson's out there who loves green. The boy has everything in his entire house is green. But it's green from the outside. That includes plants. That also includes sustainability and caring for the environment and putting all of that together. Because if we don't start to think about sustainability now and be on the leading edge of what's about to come, we're going to be left behind. And I was talking, Renato and I were talking with Pat from Mayesh earlier and saying, wouldn't it be great if the floral industry could boast in 2 years how we helped push sustainability and move it to the forefront? Suddenly, we can become the leaders in an area or an arena that we've not always had an opportunity to lead. And right now we do. So begin to incorporate it, begin to think about it. Be sure and attend our class tomorrow from 11 to 12. On sustainability and see how you can begin to think about it and incorporate that into what you do. Throw some love means that people are throwing lots of things now. It's not, we've gotten away from tossing rice, that was bad for the birds. You couldn't toss bird seed, that was bad for everything else, and brought all the other rodents in, and lots of stuff just started sprouting up everywhere. You can't toss some things in the venues, a lot of restrictions, but you want to throw some love towards everything that's going, everything they're doing. Rose petals are great. There's a lot of alternatives, a lot of things that can be incorporated, and you'll see in some of the slides later how we're throwing some of that love in other ways. And then flowers in their hair. We're seeing a lot of couples that do not want to wear a veil. They do want that connection to traditions. So they're asking for flowers for their hair, kind of going back to that organic feeling, and also embracing sort of the hippie in a lot of us that are starting to come up as we begin to embrace saving the planet, saving the environment, and getting back in touch with nature. When it comes to the color inspirations, take just a couple of seconds to look at that, and these were pulled from 3 different sources, and I was amazed at how many take us back to those green tones. It relates a lot to the fact that we also just discovered that eucalyptus is available. You know, it wasn't growing before 3-4 years ago. And all of the eucalyptus trees have sprouted up, and now it has to be in everything and not just one variety. You have to have silver dollar, spiral, and either gunny or bonsai or seeded eucalyptus as well. They don't want one thing, they want 3, but they don't want it to look the same. They want it to be that gray-green, but not all the same color. They want it to be free. They want that touch, and what we're embracing in the market is being called controlled wilderness. Controlled wilderness. It is that very branchy, free-form, 2 or 3 pieces rather than 6 pieces of something, or a whole collection of single-stemmed items gathered to look like it just fell exactly where it was supposed to, and that means that it shouldn't cost very much since you don't have to add any style, right? It takes a lot of time to make sure that those are in proportion, that the colors are distributed properly, because it's not just about making sure that the colors are the correct colors, but that you have a balance of those colors as well. And to get that incorporated, and you need to pay for my artistry. You need to pay for me continuing my education, finding out what those trends are. Pass that on to your consumer, but then in turn, after you attend a class, take a course, graduate, become certified, let them know. Promote yourself, because I will tell you, if you don't toot your horn, no one else will. And I have no problem tooting my horn. That's why I buy fancy shoes and shirts. That's something else that can toot my horn as well. You have to go back and advertise and market that you have gone to classes. You know what the trends are. I know all of you have at least one of these, probably two, and I've seen a lot of people walking around here with 3 phones. What is that about? You are an important person. I am not. I just don't want my business to have all my personal information. And so I keep 2 different ones, but I still have to take both of them with me so that I can be in contact and I know what's going on. And that means that I can jump on a live broadcast and shoot for 5 minutes and talk about the fact that I'm here, getting educated, picking up the trends that I can bring back to you and share all the things that you need to know about what's going on when it comes to style, nature, and sustainability. Come and see me next week. That easy, but it's up to you. Someone else is not going to do it for you. We look at these colors, we can see that the commonality in all of this is green, various shades of sage green, lending back to the eucalyptus, with the accent colors of lavenders, pinks, and blue, still very prevalent as an accessory color. But if you look back at all of the Pantone studies for the last 14 or 15 years, blue and yellow, lavender and yellow have always been accent colors anyway, so they're always going to be. The other colors fall into place and take turns being at the height based on what the consumer is looking for. What we are seeing in the market when it comes to color is that a demand for coral, and you'll see up here in a couple of designs some beautiful coral ranunculus. The consumer has found ranunculus, they want it. They don't care that it's fragile, that it's delicate petals, that it costs twice as much as a rose. But you can also chop a rose flat across the top, and it has that same round effect as a ranunculus at 1/3 of the cost. So maybe you layer some of those roses that are trimmed and manipulated underneath some of the ranunculus, and I would guarantee you that most of the consumer would not know the difference. That is just beautiful. I love how you put the ranunculus down low, putting that beautiful coral up top, but you can see that coral also relates really well with the blue, the teals that we're seeing. When it comes to strong color, it's incredibly strong, mixed in with whites, blushes, sand tones that still relate it to what we've seen in the past. And then finally, bringing in that Viva Magenta, which is the one in the center, mixing it with emerald green especially, takes us back to those green tones, dark, rich color, embedded or added in as that little bit of color to bring forward. And then as we look at the table centerpieces, the maxing out the space, and trust me, if you can't notice, I did that with this tiny little stage to where we had to push things off stage, and some things I even had to leave in the back to bring up here. It's that need for doing smaller events, but they still have some pretty large budgets, and they're maxing out the space and giving you the opportunity to do one really gorgeous statement piece with little accessories can really show your skills off, and it lends to that desire to want to have big, bold things at the ceremonies. And then incorporating it with those pinks, magentas, lavenders, in a mix of those tones is a great way to incorporate the color of the year. It moved very fast. By the time Viva Magenta was announced in December, it was already in the market because one of the advertisements for the color of the year for Pantone was Kate Spencer wearing Viva Magenta complete outfit. I think, you know, how they do over there in England, hat, shoes, bag, umbrella, everything has to match. Viva Magenta like 2 months earlier. So it was already in the market, was already in fashion, so it's moving much faster than it has in the past because it was already in place. So expect to see it over the next year. A lot of information in just a little bit of time. I'm trying to get us back on track. I know everyone wants to go jump in that party dress, me included, put on a different pair of shoes and all that. So I'll try to rush through the rest of it, but I don't want you to miss out on a lot of this that we're going to talk about. Florist netting, we used to call it chicken wire. Then everyone that wanted us to be PC said it was poultry fencing. And now it's called florist netting, florist mesh. It's a great stable that can be manipulated and used in many different ways. All of these pieces are created with a florist netting tube and all of the greenery added in there. And one of the reasons that I love to use this is because I could easily manipulate it to work for wherever I wanted to work. It weighs almost nothing, and you can put as much product in it as you want to. I strongly suggest that you make sure that the foliage is very hydrated, that you seal it up both after you finish and put it together, and then keep it as cool as you possibly can. But these look pretty good considering they were kept in the kitchen by the stove all night long, all day long, without any cool atmosphere and without any water source. You can link them together the way that they've been done here to outline a stage, or you can also wrap them around a column, a pedestal, staircase. Very easy to use. Once you make the form, you can just start loading up. I do suggest you use branchy items in there, but then mixing in the color, because that's the most expensive, should be an accent rather than the majority, because foliage costs just as much as flowers do these days. But statement aisles are a way to welcome the guests to the event, outlining everything and welcoming them in to what they're seeing, to what they're about to see, to where the ceremony is going to be, or to where the reception might be, or both, is a great way to start right from the very beginning what you want everyone to see and expect. And that includes the use of plants as aisle decor and centerpieces. By using plants, you're going on to that sustainability. You're also offering an opportunity for the client to rent larger plants or to be able to provide smaller plants to the guests that are attending that can take them away. We can also use it to really max out our floral additions. You can shape it into garlands, chains, the centerpieces like we talked about before, off of a table, and it will support the floral product. Any of the florals that you put in, you would want to just make sure and tube them so that they have a water source, because what we're trying to do is to have an alternative to floral foam. We're not saying to get rid of floral foam, so I don't want Syndicate or Smithers Oasis to shoot me. I am not saying that. I love floral foam. We need it. There's a place for it in our industry, but we need to use it thoughtfully. We need to use it when we have to and come up with alternatives when we can, so that we are offering both. and make sure you also pass that on to your clients and let them know as well. Statement florals are all about what's going on. Depending on where you are, a large urn can really lead the way. And making sure that those are also adaptable to being reused again. Once we come from the pedestal, maybe it goes onto a tabletop when it goes to the reception, or you can use it on a bar, on a buffet. Reuse, repurpose, recycle, reuse. Also part of sustainability, but will also bring in a whole new generation. And we're going to look at some statement pieces now that we could use on these pedestals. Let's bring out the first designs and how we begin to incorporate them all together. Now you'll see it's lots of bright, colorful colors up here, and you may look and say, I would never put all that together. But again, remember, it's not just your piece, it's your artistry, but you want to make sure that you offer colors that are bright and vibrant and can be a traditional style or something contemporary. Using that Viva Magenta with its counter or its opposite on the color wheel so that both of them play off of each other and support each other. We could also begin to layer in pinks and bring it, incorporate it into what else we've got going on. But we did find out from the AIFD and the Floral Marketing Fund studies that people buy with their eyes and they see colors, and it might not necessarily click in them that you shouldn't use those colors together. What they see is, I like those colors. And we all know that people can look at almost nearly dead flowers and go, oh, those are so beautiful. Shove them right in their face, pollen all over their face, and they smell wonderful. And we all know that they barely smell anymore. We're immune to it. But offer the contemporary style as well as some additional. We'll bring out the next pieces. You can add in those drieds and preserves to help meet the demand for that. And that little piece of roadside effloria to add depth and to make it look as large as possible. Because if we pulled all of this out and just had that compact design down at the base, it's going to appeal to one person. By layering those together, we're appealing to 2 or 3 different generations. And we're making it look, when someone looks at this, it'll be like, that design was this big. Because they see it as one rather than seeing it as only one piece. Look for the hanging florals that are still being seen out there, chandeliers especially, to be suspended over the tables. And I'm going to ask, if you would, to take both of these. This was a set that was sold by NAPCO that's very romantic, very gardeny, but also could be very contemporary depending on what designs that you put in it. I'm not sure if you're going to be tall enough to reach that over there. Yeah. Yeah, we can just lay them over there so someone can look at them afterwards. There we go. We've got a tall volunteer coming here. Remember, it takes a village. And then the geometric forms that are open and can be suspended, again, as a chandelier. You could add candles in here. You could suspend it over a tabletop, over the cake table, behind as a photo op. Maybe that one there on the base, you can reach from the step to just support it. And this one, we're just going to sit up the front. And then the painted foliage, I can't say enough how that's growing in popularity. I've done a lot of garlands with solid white plumosa, absolutely beautiful. Can look like they're this big around and can really make a statement either down the aisle or then later on wrapped around in the reception area so that they can be seen. Again, we want to repurpose, recycle, and reuse. So whatever you use for the aisle, move it to the reception. But remember, there's a labor charge for that. I don't move things for free. I am old and tired. And we're back to somebody needs to pay for my shoes. So I've got to have some labor tucked in there, as well as I need to be able to pay people to help with that situation as well. What do we have coming out next? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And if we can bring out the cylinders with those pieces, would be great too. Yeah. Everyone loves the roses, and hopefully you can see the piece on the base. This is from the Serenity Kit by Syndicate. If you have not gotten comfortable with it yet, I strongly suggest that you begin to research it and see how you can incorporate it into your, not just your sympathy work, but more so even for your event work. And remember that that square that contains that oasis, and it comes in a double block and a triple block, can be recycled. But you have to train the client to either bring that back or you go back and pick it up so that you can just put new foam in there if you're going to use it again. But that's part of the process of what we want to do. We want to know how we can reuse things. And maybe you put it like this with just the base down here and just the candle. Then when you go to the reception, you add in the cylinder, add in the layers. I purposely changed the color of petals on the inside so that it stands out and it looks like that fire that you're seeing on the candle, and that will kind of play off of each other. But again, make a statement, and we can see how these will work together by incorporating the various colors in the products that we're using. And I think we've got two more squares, and these are the triple squares. Why don't you take that one over to that pedestal? Yeah, just right on top of the white block, and you can go right to this corner. Yeah. Yes, they're going to go in the middle of both of those. And these were both done in triple blocks, and specifically when I asked the students that were working on these, I said, for one, I want you to keep it close and compact because that's a little bit more traditional. And then on the other one, I said, really blow those flowers out. Make sure that you're maximizing the space that you're using, because it's a great way to have an altarpiece, something that's up at the front. If we're concerned about that falling, we can always just, oh, there you go. I'm not going to be dancing up here too much. I'm too tired from yesterday. But that could happen later on tonight, so don't close out the opportunities. And then we start to move in a different color palette as we're moving it to the reception. I'm not saying that we'd use these together, so don't sit out there and judge me. What I'm showing is that there are alternatives. We are embracing all of the color because you've seen enough white. You can use your floral imagination and see whatever color you want these to be. It's about the style, it's about the opportunity. It's not about that this needs to match this and needs to match this. In an event setup, yes, it would. Up here, use and embrace the color and the knowledge that we're getting together to look at the style. The reason that I like using tall stems in these cylinders is because I can take it back to my shop and I can put it in another design that's going out. That helps me massage my budget. You like that word, massage? Doesn't that just feel warm and fuzzy? We all want to massage our budget. That just means I am going to sell you something twice and make as much as I possibly can, because that's my response to that popular question we get every time we do something on stage. How much would you charge for that? My response every time for the last 20 years is as much as I possibly can. Because if I don't, I will not be here tomorrow. Be fair. Don't gouge just because you can. Don't add something just because you've got the opportunity. Do it smart, but charge. And I told this to my class yesterday. The first thing I learned when I got in business is that my family and friends were no longer my family or friends, because they'll be the first one to ask you to do it for free and expect for you to pay it. I can't. I'm in business. I don't know a doctor that I can go to and say, you're only looking at this ear, so can you just charge me half price? You have to make sure that you make a statement with what you're doing. Bold and beautiful. Hydrangea is still so many people, big hydrangea balls. We're seeing a lot of the event companies, that's easy for them to do. That's something that can make a big statement, easy to put together. And I don't mean that the way it sounds, but it is much easier to do a round ball of flowers than it is to come up with something that's long, low, and styled with a piece of driftwood in the middle of it and only 4 stems of floral products. And that starts to get a little bit more challenging for some. But make a statement with what you're doing. It all starts with that great base, and those were the bases that we looked at with from Syndicate, both the double brick and the single brick, and then layer that in. And we also want to look at beautiful arches, because entryways and photo opportunities where people want to take that photo or welcome them in, I say try to use something that you can do for both. It's amazing how many times in South Carolina people will get married on the beach and they want a big archway. I'm like, why? Aren't you getting married on the beach because you wanted the ocean? Don't you want to see that beauty behind you? So you want to cover something up? No, you want to mark the ceremony area like this, with things like this and the beautiful ocean behind you, because all of this can be moved into the ceremony or to the reception. These cannot. You saw how we had to struggle to get it in place. Can't just take that down and move it. Although with the Syndicate archways, and both of these are one of the new pieces from Syndicate, the octagon, and then the one off to the side, because we couldn't get it up here, is either a rectangle or a square, and they also have a circle. And Derek and Jessica, I'm sorry, I don't remember how many more. The triangle, there we go. I knew there was at least one more. And you can change them into different, kind of like Tinker Toys. Let's see what I can do now. But the great thing about that is that you can hang this or suspend the chandeliers on top of the bride and groom table or the wedding party table by setting it up on the table and taking it 9 feet above. Ooh. Look at that incredible florist, what they can do. So use it as a backdrop and then move it into the reception to make that statement when someone comes in. Don't miss the opportunity of being able to reuse these. There we go, and you can see how they can be configured in different ways. Thank you very much, Syndicate, for providing the product for us, for the program, and all of those that did not attend the class yesterday. You missed out on an opportunity because all 3 of these archways were given away to one of the students in the class. So they get to take it home because they attended the class. So you might want to read the fine print on some of the hands-on classes that are being offered to see what your opportunities there are. Backdrops to photo ops, the reason I put that in is because it can be an entire stage, like we see here, with things hanging down, with things in the center. Furniture is still big and popular and in demand, but it's about setting the stage. And as you can see here, we've got the wedding cake on one side, and you've got decor and accessories on the other side. People are maximizing the venue space where they're going to be, whether it's a small group or a large group. Whether it's a museum, a park, a rock, a field, they're dragging you out everywhere. because they're smaller groups of people, still we're seeing more receptions go to that 50 is now about average, where it used to be 150. But they're still spending the same amount because they want the smaller group of people that they spend more time with to have that experience, to take away from the event that that was the best event I've ever been to. So you want to utilize everything you can to make that backdrop pop. These are all pieces that were created with the florist netting, both either hanging on the mantelpiece or attached to the wall, and then just inserting your pieces. You can make an incredible statement by what you're putting up there. And whether it's a small section to the side or the entire dance floor and backdrop, then everyone can take photos in front of that after the ceremony has taken place, because people love that. They want to be included in part of what's going on. And this is a way that they can take something away with them from the ceremony. Oops, going back. We've got a few more things that we're going to bring out, but I'm going to leave this up here. One of the other great opportunities that you have is, don't limit yourself with what you're doing with the container. Grouping and clustering is still very popular because it makes the color stronger. It makes the floral product look stronger, bigger, because it's all gathered and clustered together. But just because you've got a low bowl doesn't necessarily mean that you do have to do something small, because both of these are done in the same size container. You limit yourself. Now, I know the two students that did these two designs yesterday are going, whoa, that's not what I created yesterday. I just emphasized it a little bit. And that's what I want to also do for the client, to let them know. Isn't that coral ranunculus just, I mean, it's just beautiful. You want to just touch it and feel it and look at the color, embrace that. So utilize the space that you've been given to show what you can do. It doesn't have to just be down here and clustered. It can be tall. It doesn't have to just be buttons. If the budget allow, Crespidia is one of those products that people love. So you could use these together on an altar, on two pedestals, and then move them to different places for the reception. Let's look at our next piece. I love these utilitarian containers. These are from Smithers and generally are created as cooler buckets. But doesn't that make a statement for the aisle, for the entryway? Some branches that Paul brought, and he brought like a whole truckload. I love it when I say I need a large branch and I get a tree, because we love that. We love having the options. But the branches are put into the container first. There is some foam in there because you need that for the weight. Otherwise, it might get top heavy. And then you keep the floral product clipped nice and close, a little bit more contemporary. But again, a set of these at the altar, one on each side, and then use them for your buffet area, for your entryway area on either side of the wedding couple, or on the behind the dance floor on either side of the band. The opportunities are limitless. What do we have next? I can hear them picking it up back there going, oh. Ah, yes. Thank you. That one can go over to the other square. And I want this one. All the squares can go over there. You can drop this piece right here for me. These are the design sheets from Smithers, and we just created some orbs, a moss orb, this onion that we created out of one bunch of aspidistra, just stuck in the bottom of the orb and then pulled up to give it, and that is just simply for texture. It's a way to utilize what we had in the back, and to add some texture into the center of that with a few candles tucked on there. It's a great way to bring that to life. By using the square and taking what would have taken probably 4 times the amount of product to really green that in, you're going to see as we finish in a moment a backdrop that we've created back here out of this net or mat. This is just plastic matting. It comes in a 2 foot by 2 foot square. They snap together so you can make it however large you want to. And I've taken one and actually used it to cover the base of the sheet and then put all of the floral product around, because that's what you see. And this can be reused time and time again, because I'm going to pick it back up, I'm going to bring it back in, and I will continue to reuse this. If you use it at least 3 times, and this is the way to price your rentals, the cost plus your shipping plus the markup that you would normally do, added together, divided by 3, that's what your rental should be each time. Then you take that, and I'll repeat that one more time just so that you've got it. Your cost plus your shipping and your markup added together, divide by 3, that is your rental cost. All glass pieces are estimated to survive 3 uses before they get chipped or broken or destroyed in some way. So I just use that for every rental piece I do. After 3 times, if I can rent this 2 more times, what is that? Pure profit. And that's the way that you continue to be able to purchase rentals and move forward, by being thoughtful in the way that you use them and adapt them. Because monograms are so popular, I get things like this that can easily be attached and then reused. And you will find that there's about 6 or 8 letters that are the most popular that you'll reuse time and time again. Buying the entire vocabulary might be a little challenging, but having at least the most popular letters available is a great way to be able to add in, or looking for those products like the burlap garland that could easily be added in to what you're doing down the aisleway, down the runway. Using or adding in burlap in various colors, so it incorporates those colors that you're trying to draw out and make it look like you've done a lot more, because a foot of this is a lot less than the floral product it would take to cover the same foot, and be able to price that out accordingly. There is always a way, if we use our creativity, to come up with how we can provide what the client is looking for and what will fit their budget, because we all know that those two rarely go together hand in hand. They come in with grandiose ideas, and you can do this for $25, can't you? Somebody told me you could work magic. I can work magic, but I do not walk on waters and cannot work miracles. And $25 for this would be a miracle. So you want to make sure that you're doing what you can, adding in those pieces that will give them the look that they're looking for, that you can then pick up and reuse again. I think we've got a couple more pieces, right? Just a little something for your coffee table. This is my boutonniere for tonight. This one's going to go here. And they got it. And then if you can stay up here and help me open the... Okay. And I started these with a beautiful manzanita branch because I wanted that natural brown tones, also very popular. But to show you what we can do with the florist netting, all of this centerpiece is done in 3 of those tubes. This piece back here in the back with the plastic mat is just zip tied to my cooler rack. That way it can roll in and out. I don't know if you flip that around and show them that I'm telling the truth? This is about 150 roses that were tubed. I don't want anyone to fall off just for me to prove a point back there. You know there's going to be that Jackie Lacey. Just zip tied to the cooler rack. You can roll it right into your van, bring it right out for the setup. The flowers are all tubed, pushed into the square because it happens to be exact same size of the square in the mat. You go back and pick up the whole thing. The setup is about $300 rental, and then whatever floral product you're going to add on there, and then of course you would add your labor on top of it. What I'm saying is use creative flair to advance your brand. Try to begin to be sustainable to advance your brand. And everything you do, everything that you put your name on should be reinforcing your brand to continue to build your business. I have to say thank you very much to Syndicate Sales for the products and for Derek for all of your help that you offered yesterday in the class, and Jessica, and especially Floriology powered by BloomNet, but BloomNet in particular and 1-800-Flowers for allowing me to be here and providing me the opportunity to share with you. I appreciate being at Great Lakes. We were talking earlier, I think this is my 12th year. I don't want you to get tired of me. You're like my family, and I want to help you. From Floriology, we want to help you because education is your tool to continue to grow. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here at Great Lakes, and I hope to see you again.
Mr. Jackie, thank you so much. We sure appreciate it. This is absolutely a beautiful program.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you also to the sponsors, again, like you said, Floriology, powered by BloomNet, and Syndicate Sales for providing everything that you see here. Absolutely amazing, and really just great inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So just a couple of housekeeping things that we need to go over. We've got the banquet that's going to be in this room. So what we would like to do is we would like to get cleared out just as quickly as possible. We're definitely going to give you opportunity to come snap a few photos, but again, we would like to do that just as quickly as possible. This whole room is going to be switched over by Marissa and her amazing team, and when you come back, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Also, if you've bid on your silent auction items, be sure to go and collect those. We'll see you in just a bit. Thanks, guys.